And I'm off mute. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. You're tuning into After Dark, which is part of the Emerging Writers Festival. Tonight we have a series of readings about who and what comes out to play when the sun goes down. We have some of the best up-and-coming literary stars to dazzle us tonight. First, I wanted to do an acknowledgement of country. I'm broadcasting from the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri and Boon Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and extend those respects to the First Nations peoples of wherever this broadcast lands, which means wherever you are watching from tonight. I'm incredibly grateful to be here tonight. A huge congratulations to Emerging Writers Festival for swiftly moving us online so that we could still share in tonight. I'm really excited to announce our readers. We have Christy Tan, Penny Smits, Wai-Mun and Sammaneh Pourshafighi, and myself. I'm Jesse Oliver, and tonight we're bringing you After Dark, so let's get started. I will read my bio, I guess. My name's Jesse Oliver. I'm a writer and performer of kind of slammy, often fantastical and optimistically emotional performance poetry. Sometimes I cry on stage, which is not part of the performance, but that's okay. I've been an Australian Poetry Slam champion, producer, TEDx speaker, and a bunch of other things. If you wanted to learn more about the stuff that I did, then you can check out my bio on the Emerging Writers Festival website. I was going to read some poetry for you tonight. I've sort of taken the theme of After Dark quite, literally at first, and then sort of more poetically. The first poem I have is about sort of what I got from stargazing and learning about space and stuff like that. It's called Aliens Exist. I look towards the heavens on a starlit night, my beating heart open, thinking something like this. I hope that aliens exist. Because I took a unit in astrophysics and my lecturer told us that civilizations would burn up faster than they could turn up based on what we've seen on Earth, which isn't fair. So if they are up there, then it means that they've learnt how to love. It means that there's no place for war, and what's more is that the key from evolving from flora until space and from space and through time is just the ability to see eye to eye. They only fight to give love a fostering, and that's how they can be living long and prospering. I like to believe they are up there, that they evolved from beings like us who learnt how to trust before becoming stardust, so the universe would welcome them, saying, "There's a place for you here. There's a place for you here, up in party paradise where the truth juice is served over the ice rings of Jupiter and the bar tab is endless because we stopped getting stupider and woke up. We're all cool in space." And Captain Zing, he's this weird cat-insect hybrid thing. He's leaning on the bar, dips his proboscis in a hibiscus drink thinking of its origin. It's an Earth special. Man, why do they have to devour the trees and the forests and the flowers? We've saved them this table, but we've been waiting for hours. That's when the bodiless brain from Mars flicks on a TV screen behind the bar and points to me looking up. "You see," said the brain, "they haven't started their journey yet, but at least they know where they want to go." So that was my first poem. My next poem was something that I think is a little bit more of a poetic interpretation. It's about when I came out to my parents as trans, and it didn't go well at first. I ended up being disconnected from them for a couple of years, but the poem is about healing that, and sort of that's where the after darkness sort of metaphor came from. It's called Que Sera. It's based on that old song. When I first met you, on November the 10th, 1988, my birthday, I never introduced myself. If I could go back, I'd say, "Hi, my name's Jesse. I'm your son." I know it doesn't seem that way. But I've also got 2 eyes, ears, and mouth, and I can't wait for you to teach me how to use them. I'd tell you I'm scared as I learnt how to breathe, knowing I'm not what you expected. I'd tell you I'm scared because I don't know how to be what you did. But you sang Que Sera. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see, que sera. And I asked you to remember how eternal the smiles in the room are, to remember the shine in my eyes when they first opened and you told me that you loved me. I'd say I'm sorry. I'm your son. I might hurt you while I'm learning how to love, how to be what the future sees for me. You'd say que sera. Dad, I just want to make you proud. And I know you're not the kind of man to say these things out loud, but I will try every day not to hurt you, and Mum, I will pray and go to church soon if you promise to love me the way I am too. Because, Dad, Mom, I heard that God doesn't love what I'll become, and I'll need you. One day, show me how to make my own way, and I know it's a large ask from someone just born to go against what people will tell you, but this dawn will lead to dusk, so promise me you must that there will always be love. And you sang Que Sera like a vow, and now that melody was enough to carry me. That's 2 poems down. Last one. The last one I wanted to perform is also along the same sort of similar vein, but it is more about love. It's about love. It's about learning how to love, and it's about admitting mistakes. And yeah. We sit at a cafe, hands held over table, eyes locked in embrace. I want to tell her poetry. Present landscapes like the ones I've traveled to find her, paint artworks with my words like her love is my world, but I have nothing. I want to tell her that her hair smells like flowers, that my hands were made for her waist, that I would lay my life down and become a foundation, but I'm not that strong. She once told me I was shaky, and I crumbled. You see, straw houses don't stand to criticism. My hands were too often used in defense, but her hair did smell like flowers. And you think that after a little while of using the same shampoo, I wouldn't notice, but in a moment, the breeze catches her hair, and I notice that she's sitting there, I notice. A woman, too smart to be manipulated. And even in the past I had tried, she was someone with whom to be vulnerable in admitting that I had lied. When she cried for the first time, I stopped living in a universe where I was her savior. I was grounded in a reality where my actions have consequences, written across her cheekbones, where wrongness isn't wished away or covered by the paint of poetry, where forgiveness had a chance to breathe. To where we sit at this cafe, my hands are in hers, and I have learnt how to love. And that's all of my poems. Thank you so much for listening. We've got some more stories and wonderful sharings to come. Next up, we have Christy Tan. Hi, Christy. Christy Tan lives on the... you're also on mute, so I'm not the only one. Christy lives on the unceded Wurundjeri land. Oh, sorry. Your bio keeps running away from me. The unceded Wurundjeri lands in Naarm, Melbourne. Her poems have appeared in Cordite Poetry Review, the Suburban Review, Digital Writers Festival, National Young Writers Festival, and Emerging Writers Festival Vignettes podcast. She has forthcoming work with 7th Gallery's Emerging Writers Festival program and Writing and Concepts lecture series. Take it away, Christy.
Thank you, Jesse. I also want to open just by acknowledging that I'm broadcasting from Wurundjeri country of the Kulin Nation, and I want to pay my respects to the first storytellers and caretakers of this land, and acknowledge that my writing and living is on land that is stolen with the ongoing dispossession of First Nations peoples, as well as the displacement and incarceration of refugees and asylum seekers. My relationship with time, memory, and language as an extension of diasporic migrant settler body on unceded land is inextricably shaped by capitalism, patriarchy, and colonialism. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So tonight I'm going to read 2 poems. And I'm just going to start with the first one. Okay. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. When you write, you are writing to translate the infinite into this finite. You are scratching for that piece of eternity in your mouth, the sea of land you must unpart. You inspect the body of every word because language has corporeal consequences. Unlike this body, the word never dies. The word becomes ghost, which is to say, the word becomes metaphor. And maybe she is just another metaphor, unable to name what it is that she is haunting. Each time you remember her, you embody a desire to know more than language permits. Each time you remember her, you are changing this body. Each time you remember, you are rebuilding this city alone. And this is how memory too will leave you with less than when you began. You have built this city with her in the bones of its skeleton. Is this what Christ meant when he said, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me"? There is no privacy in the word of your body. Each time you emerge something less, and sometimes you forget the body itself is metaphor. You wonder what kind of a body can exist without submitting itself to grammar. To remember can be an act of reproducing violence, as clean in its execution as punctuation. If the body remembers, how can the body if the word remembers, how can the body forget? Is this what my mother meant when she said, "This was my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me"? What does it mean to write a body out of existence, the line breaking where the sea of land endures? Here we can only live, as if here is coterminous with there, the border of sky you are dissolving through the syntax of your saliva. Here, am I present? Does my presence disrupt the past? Here, me, I am here. I move through this space, unlike this space moving through me. What does it mean to write a body into non existence? There are things that exist that cease to exist when we call them by name. This is what happens after centuries of occupying the other. Naming becomes the primary mode of knowing, cleaving knowledge into definer and defined. In the beginning will be the Word, and the Word will be God, and the Word will be with God. Whose name do you call when you come back from the dead? In the future, memory will be the only technology needed for time travel. We will remember the present through the future of our past. In the future of our past, there is a train that can measure the width of a dream, dissolving into horizon like silence refilling itself, as if silence is a more honest kind of conversation. In the dream, you are the single tear painting my face clean. In the dream, you can find the harp of any eyelash. Even the wind will hold its breath for us as we drift apart like floating petals, the ripples of our fingerprints tracing and being traced in the eternal present. I am learning to not resent the structure of my desire. I hold this tender distance, knowing its symmetry brings me closer to you. I return to the place where time stays and nothing has left us. I take an elevator to the secret room in your voice until its wavering geometry becomes architectural fact. By the time I enter this room, you will have left me again. By the time you re-enter this room, I will have left you, though I promise when I leave you, it is only to get back to you. And each time you remember me, you are changing the past. Remembering is not simply the opposite of forgetting. So look back into our future and promise to never look forward again. That is it. Thank you very much. I think next up is Penny.
Thank you, Christy. Next, we have Penny Smits. Hi, Penny.
Hello.
Penny is a writer, communications consultant, and education support worker who has won awards for short fiction and public relations. Her creative writing work explores the intersection of loneliness, isolation, and segregation. Of Maori, Aboriginal, and Pakeha descent, Penny currently...
Pakeha.
Pakeha?
But that's all right.
I'll keep practicing. Pakeha. Was that it?
Pakeha. That's all good. That's the least of my worries.
Yeah, and Penny's going to dazzle us with some sharing. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you. I too acknowledge that I'm broadcasting from the unceded lands of the Bungarong. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is the lonely hours. I wonder of those who find slumber in darkness. My carefree lover finds solace at midnight, but such respite escapes me. It was in the dead of night that a phone call shattered what was left of my family. Fateful words delivered as a spectre of sadness through the ominous shrill of a telephone call. She's gone. Such words can fell a man, as they did my father. He who knew loss far too soon, who had his culture and his language stripped from his body by the sharp rebuke of a supplejack vine. He did not flinch then. He did not cry. But I saw him cry. I heard a giant wail in the still of the night, and I knew again the danger and the agony of darkness. My fear of dusk grips like muscle memory. From girlhood, I knew vividly of potent threats concealed in inky shadows. But then all women eventually know. We all learn the dance. Walk in pairs, stay in the light, keep them in front, beware of the night. Yet not all who are lost walk in dim moonlight. Murdered mother of 3 found in Gold Coast backyard. Body of murdered woman found in freezer. Mother and 3 children found dead at home. They say 1 woman a week is killed by someone who claimed to love them. 1 a week, 52 weeks, 52 victims lost to love. During Langham, aged 49, Hannah Clark, aged 31, and her 3 children, Kelly Wilkinson, 27, Robin Beaver, 82, name undisclosed, name undisclosed, name undisclosed. These words and headlines throb in my head like an unhealed scar, projected horror in my mind, begging me to bear witness. And I wonder, was anyone with them? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters? Was there someone to comfort them as they took their last breath in the comfort of home? And then I wonder, will there ever be a time when my young niece isn't compelled to readjust her skirt for fear of catching a wandering eye? Will I always need to check the locks, grip my keys, and sleep with the light on? Will I ever not look for fear in a young girl's eye and feel apprehensive dread when I don't find it? Would things have been different without that late night phone call? Could I have saved my sister? I was indeed new to womanhood when we lost her. I was but a girl, but still this question haunts me. I've asked her directly more than once. A tauhanga told me that my sister felt trapped and was feeding on my frenetic energy. This was interesting, but of little comfort, and it didn't answer my question. So I shout in silence into the black expanse that lies beneath my eyelids. Are you safe now, sis? Is anyone with you? Could we have saved you? I look for signs as answers, unfamiliar sounds and sensations, late night locks, ghostly flickers, but still nothing. The Welsh speak of hiraeth, a homesickness for a home to which you cannot return or perhaps never was. I know of no direct English translation for this word. I'm unsure whether one exists in one of my other lost mother tongues, yet I do know the longing for places to which I cannot return, and I too grieve for ancient connections that perhaps never existed. My mind is full of memories that I've conjured to replace the void of distance, that familiar feeling of solitary sorrow. But is my remembering wrong? Can I really trust my nostalgic desire to recall a different place? Can I have true faith in my recollections of happier times? Were things honestly better before that late night phone call? These are the things one contemplates in the desolate null that lies between my mind and sleep during those lonely hours after dark.
It was beautiful, Penny. Thank you for sharing. Up next, we have Wai-Mun Ma. Wai-Mun Ma lives, writes, and edits from Melbourne/Naarm. Her work has been published in Pigeonholes, Tenderness Lit, Porridge, Mutiny, and Express Media. She is an editorial assistant at Hobart, a reader at Outlook Springs, and the marketing manager at Going Down and Swinging. Find her tweeting about swords at @lilgrem_gremlin. Over to you.
Thanks, Jessie. I'd like to start off by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gathered virtually today and pay my respects to the elders past and present. I'm broadcasting to you and write from Wurundjeri country. Everyone's written such beautiful poetry tonight, and I'm going to break it up a little bit with a short story I've written. Whenever I hear the words after dark, I always think a little bit about scary stories, so it'll be a bit of a change of pace, but I'm hoping you'll enjoy it, and there's a bit of an atmospheric image to accompany things. All night long, the bird scratches at the window. Nina isn't sleeping, but the added clicking leaves some part of her itchy, anxious. The house is already cursed, she knows. At night, the red ghost of her mother's cough haunts the walls, and her brother's hands travel by themselves from room to room, purse to purse. She can't imagine why any living thing would want to get in. But by dawn it hasn't stopped, and so she tosses herself from a sleepless bed and cracks the window. On the windowsill, the bird looks like something the night's forgotten. It has large dark wings that remind Nina of an oil spill and a cruel, curved beak. But its eyes, which dart this way and that, are bright and intelligent, and it is nice to have company for once. There, Nina says to the bird. You're in now. What do you want? She's not expecting the bird to twist its face to her and speak, but it does. I am quite hungry, the bird says. Its voice sounds a little like a scratch and a lot like something old. I was hoping you would help. Nina blinks. While she is young, she knows something of the world's rules, and what she remembers goes like this. There is to be no unnecessary questions at dinner, nor sneaking snacks without permission, and animals, birds especially, are discouraged from speaking their thoughts aloud. For a moment she considers telling the bird this, but her mouth won't move. In her life there have been so few remarkable things. Instead she goes to the closet and takes out some of her hidden biscuits. The bird snuffles against her palm like a pig. You were kind when you didn't need to be, it says when it's finished. And while I'm a bird, which is to say a thief, I would like to do something kind for you in return. Is there something you wished me to take away? That day, the bird rides Nina's shoulder to school. At lunch, the other kids gather around them, their eyes like searchlights. What kind of bird is it, they want to know. Is it new? Its feathers are so glossy, like nothing they've seen before. The bird doesn't open its beak and let any words fall out, though part of Nina wants it to. But whenever someone brings their fingers too close, like they own it, it snaps its beak at them. Then Nina's heart comes to life, like a freshly stoked fire. The next night, there are two birds on Nina's bed. They turn at the creak of the door and roll these shiny eyes in greeting. I told my friend about you, the first bird says. She thinks it's grown since you last saw it. Now it's the size of a small cat, and its feathers have thickened. I wanted you to meet before we left. I thought you might help us gather our strength. That's nice of you, Nina says. She turns and takes her jacket off so the first bird can see the marks it's left behind. When are you leaving? A day or two, the first bird says. We need to gather our strength first. Nina goes to the basement where her brother hides the bed. Upstairs, she pauses at the door to her mother's bedroom, then holds her breath and throws it open. The room is a little like an organ. Inside, the walls are a dark, deoxygenated red, and everything smells metallic. But her mother's wedding ring sits in its usual place on the dresser, and is small enough for Nina to screw into the bread. Back in her room, the birds pick at the loaf. When they reach the pocket of air and gold she has created, they stop and look up. Is this a heart, Nina? The first bird, her bird, asks. It wraps its beak against the ring, and the ring sings a muffled little song. A heart is too heavy for a bird to carry away. It's my mother's cough, Nina says. Her own heart is beating rapidly. I want you to take it. The birds exchange a glance. Something passes between them too low for Nina to catch. Then the first bird says, Put it in your palm, please, Nina. We'll choke if you try to feed it to us this way. As soon as she does, they strike down hard. Beak, broken skin, blood. Nina jerks her hand away and looks askance at the birds. It's just a little we need, her bird says. Its eyes are dark and very shiny. All power requires power. Certain numbers have magic, Nina knows. The 10 steps between her bedroom and the kitchen have the power to make her lose her appetite. If she counts down from 20 slowly, she can forget what was making her sad. Her brother believes in this too. At night, she hears him shouting into his phone. The higher the number, the more power it gets. In the morning, she lies awake, the dawn falling across her face, counting the number of times the wound in her hand pulses in and out. When she's lost track, she throws the blankets off and goes downstairs. At the kitchen table, her mother is sitting upright. Her eyes are as bright as 2 copper pennies, and before her is a plate of steaming eggs. You're better, Nina says. Aloud, the words sound like some sort of trick. I am, her mother agrees. Then she runs a hand through her hair. It's a soft gesture, a girl's gesture. One Nina had thought lost. It's funny really. I feel like I haven't breathed properly in years. To celebrate, her brother takes them to the beach. He holds Nina's unhurt hand at the ice cream stand and tells her to ask for what she wants. He and her mother walk ahead, kicking at the sand and laughing at the gulls. Nina trails behind them. Her body feels strange, both tender and tight, as if it's forgotten how to do one without the other. Then it's like something in her lifts, and she comes spinning out of herself to witness the scene from above, which in turn takes on the hazy quality of a dream. There are birds on the beach too, behind them, as big and black as her bird. Looking back at them is like looking at an anchor. Whenever one opens its wings, she thinks it could blot out the sky. In the evening, her brother comes to her. I heard something strange today, he says. He's wearing the same smile as the one he's worn throughout the day, but it's changed, become smeary like an ice cream. Oh, Nina says. Her heart starts up, a cautious little rat-a-tat-tat of a rhythm. It concerns a certain Miss Nina, he says, nudging her. Have you heard of her? She obliges him with a laugh. Then in the darkness, he lets out one long breath, and she hears what she's been waiting for. It's the lid sliding off his voice. Mum told me you said you'd cured her or something. Is that right? You found something that helped? Nina squeezes her eyes shut. Technically, she says, they found me. You talk to debtors, her brother said. Nina, you can't go and make decisions for this family without me. I talk to good people, Nina says. Her eyes are still closed. Something in her chest feels burst, or perhaps will always burst. For some time now, he has been trying to teach it a certain kind of magic of his own. But unlike the bird's magic, which lifts her up and carries her away, her brother's pins her down. She can feel it in the room, hard and heavy, stooping her shoulders, bowing her neck. Tell me what you asked for, her brother says. His voice is almost too soft to hear. Did you ask for what we needed? If he keeps this up, she will soon be too heavy for running, for skipping, for floating. She will become too heavy to look at the sky. By the sea, the birds have begun to mass. Nina can smell the hot, feathery stink of them in among the sharp glass scent of salt and rotting things. Everywhere she turns, there are the eyes of birds and the claws of birds. Birds shuffling on the bare arms of the winter trees. Birds pressed together in the holes in the cliffs, so close she can't tell them apart. A thought comes to her, electric in its urgency. They are part of the same body. The night confirms and denies nothing. Are you still hungry? Nina shouts. The wind snatches a voice away, then sends it back to her in pieces. It takes her a moment to realize that it's not the wind, but the birds, scattering her words among their many beaks. Then there is an awful sound, like something rasping against the air. The birds are laughing. I can give you more food, Nina says. Between her teeth, the secret of the magic has gone sour and makes her want to spit. If you can give us. The birds' heads pivot to fix her in their gaze. We cannot give, they say, in a shared voice. We can only take away. That's not true, Nina says. You came with me to school. You gave me friendship when I wanted it. We were taking away your loneliness, the birds say. There is the drumbeat of the waves against the rocks. Then take me away, Nina says. Her voice feels very far away. Or make me a bird. In the darkness, she can feel them surveying her, making a sense of her thoughts, her bones, her words. She closes her eyes again. Somewhere in there, she hopes, is the first bird she met. For a moment, there is nothing. Then the birds speak. That is both, they say. And to do both, we will need something that does both. All power requires power. Tomorrow, the birds will come for her again. Of this, Nina is certain. Something that gives and something that takes away, they have said. In her mind, an image is growing. Tonight she will wake when everyone is sleeping and she will hunt. She will scratch around in the dirt of this house. But for now she rests. Her dreams come to her in fits and spurts, and in them are the birds and their beaks. They come to her and gently they set to work, taking and taking, whittling and whittling, until she is small and polished and light like a pebble, so light that even the smallest bird could carry her away. That's the end of my story.
Thank you, Wai. That was beautiful. All right. It's kind of sad to announce that we have one more reader left tonight. Sammaneh Pourshafighi. Sammaneh is a queer, gender-fluid Muslim who arrived in Australia as a refugee after the Iranian Revolution. Her ancestral tribes originate from Ure, Gilan, and Kurdistan. Pourshafighi is a hereditary witch, producer, writer, multidisciplinary artist. Her work plays with identity, ritual, the body, diaspora, Middle Eastern and Western histories, and comedy as a way to address trauma. Over to you, Sammaneh. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. به نام خداوند بخشنده و مهربان. Medusa. I see you. Eyes see you. The eyes of gods see you. A crowned council upon the mount, golden skinned and silk gowned, survey us through lenses tinted by their pretty pretenses and small jealousies, directors of our little comedies and tragedies. We are little more than expendable and forgettable follies of fancy. Every cloud that surrounds the mount, like a mantle made of mother's milk. Tears swell in the eyes and fall in rhythm with the tides, hostages to the gravity of 14 moons. Are your irises green or blue? I swear once they were the color of Neptune. In the father's house, the mother can strike you down. Serve in the shrine for thine. Violations of Vestal virgins, for thine is. The seal is broken, for thine is the kingdom. There are no secrets here. The power. I pray that the wine dark sea does not take me forever, forever and ever. Gods and men, lead us not into temptation. The body is a temple. Deliver us from evil. Look in the whites of my eyes. Amen. Gods and men make no amends for unsolicited advances. There is a steep price to pay now for all those stolen glances. My body is a temple. My head is a palace where each room is rented to a castrated phallus. New notches created on bedposts each time, and epics narrated to boast in rhyme about each conquest checkmated, every man I destroyed. Now what do you think of that, Herr Dr. Freud? My body is a temple. Each bone in my spine serves as a rung in a ladder that ascends to the spire, which is my head, a roof from which to observe the cries of gods and men. Have you seen the whites of my eyes? My body is the Garden of Eden, Elysian fields that harbor something serpentine. Are your irises blue or brown? I watch him shuck oysters for their pearls and gulp them down, wreathed in a garland briefer than a girl's. In your body is where I'll build my temple of cool, cold marble, a doorless fortress. The curved arches of your window look out into a garden. Your erection is a gravestone. The blood drains from his face. I have finally become the master mason. Are your irises brown or hazel? In the hall of mirrors, you avoid my gaze while you think of trophies to present in court and dream of Versace and luxury. Reflections lead us. Inflictions lead us not. Decapitations lead us not into temptation. Severance, deliverance. But deliver us. The blood he spills from evil is my blood. My body becomes undone, the abject horror of my headlessness, a diffused bomb doused in perfume, another gash to overcome, another orifice to invade. My head is the brave flag you wave. A sight that bleeds and breeds things of fantasies and teenage dreams, winged creatures spawned from me and divinity, where pure waters mingle with the blood-red sea.
Incredible. Double points for the production, but triple points for the contents. Those were some incredible words. And I'm really sad to say that that's actually all that we have for tonight's After Dark session. But the festival itself is far from over, so make sure you head over to the Emerging Writers Festival website, check out all of the other great events that they have on at the moment, look up any of the artists that you saw tonight. Thanks again to our readers, and make sure you give them a bit of clout. Other than that, that's all from me. Thank you, Emerging Writers Festival, for having me, and have a great rest of the night.